Commander Zachary Powell's 4 eyes blinked nervously as he looked at the new recruits in the room. The dim blue lights of the briefing chamber aboard the celestial horizon cast strange shadows on the faces of the various alien species gathered before him. Some had scales, others had tentacles, and a few were barely solid at all. "Welcome to your first day with the Galactic Confederation Exploratory Fleet," Powell said, his voice calm despite his inner worries. His tentacles moved slowly as he spoke, emphasizing his words. "Before we begin your training, there is one rule you must understand above all others." Powell pressed a button on his wrist device. A holographic image of a blue and green planet appeared, floating in the center of the room. "This is the 3rd planet of a yellow star in Sector 7G. The locals call it Earth. And the one absolute rule of the Confederation is, never disturb the humans who live there." A young Saurian officer named Lieutenant Kress raised his scaled, clawed hand. His reptilian eyes narrowed with confusion. "Commander, I've studied the reports. These humans barely have technology to reach their own moon. They fight endless wars among themselves. Why should we fear such primitive beings?" Powell sighed. "New recruits always ask this question." He tapped his device again, and the hologram changed. Now it showed scenes from human history. Warriors with swords, soldiers with guns, and finally modern weapons of mass destruction. "The humans are unique in our galaxy," Powell explained. "Most species developed cooperation before technology. We learned to work together, then we built tools. Humans did the opposite. They mastered the art of killing each other before they mastered space travel." The room grew quiet as the images showed nuclear explosions and war machines. In simple terms, Powell continued, "Humans are the only species we know who became experts in warfare before they joined the galactic community. The Confederation's wisest minds decided long ago that humans should develop on their own, without our interference. We watch, we study, but we do not make contact." As Powell finished his speech, he didn't notice Admiral Vox lurking in the shadows at the back of the room. The Admiral, a tall Nublarian whose body seemed to shift between solid and gas, had different ideas about the humans. His eyes glowed faintly as he listened, plans already forming in his mind. Far away, on the planet Earth, Dr. Olivia Martinez rubbed her tired eyes. The clock on her computer showed it was 3:17 a.m., but she couldn't sleep. Not after what she had discovered. The Deep Space Monitoring Station in New Mexico was supposed to be scanning for asteroids and cosmic events. Instead, for the past week, it had been picking up strange signals that didn't match any known pattern. Olivia picked up her phone and called her colleague in Australia. "Alan, it's Olivia. Sorry to call so late." Dr. Alan Wright's voice came through, sounding wide awake despite the time difference. "I was about to call you. The signals are getting stronger." "You're seeing them too?" Olivia sat up straighter. "This confirms it's not equipment failure or local interference." "Not only am I seeing them," Alan replied, excitement clear in his voice, "but I've started to decode parts of it. Olivia, these aren't random space noises. These signals have structure, complex patterns. They're artificial." Olivia's heart raced. "Artificial, as in made by intelligent beings," Alan finished her thought. "We're not alone, Olivia." Neither scientist knew they were detecting communications between Confederation ships that had gotten sloppy with their cloaking protocols. Nor did they know that their discovery was about to set off a chain of events that would change human history forever. Back on the celestial horizon, Admiral Vox gathered a small group of like-minded officers in his private quarters. The room was specially pressurized to accommodate his gaseous form, which now swirled with excitement. "The directive about humans is outdated," Vox told his conspirators. His voice sounded like wind through a narrow canyon. "The Confederation grows weak with its cautious policies. While we sit and watch, other galactic powers grow stronger." A nervous Vexry officer clicked her mandibles together. "But the rules about Earth are absolute, Admiral. No contact under any circumstances." Vox's form darkened with purpose. "Rules change when circumstances demand it. I've studied humans for decades. Yes, they are violent, but they are also resourceful. Imagine if we could harness that potential. With humans under our guidance, our faction could reshape the power structure of the entire Confederation. Are you suggesting we make contact? Asked another officer, his eyes wide with shock. I'm suggesting we do more than that, Vox replied. I'm suggesting we bring humans into the galactic community on our terms, with our faction as their sponsors and controllers. The first group to establish dominance over Earth will gain immense political power. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. What Admiral Vox proposed was not just breaking rules, it was revolution. The Confederation Council would never approve such action, said the Vexry. Vox's gaseous form seemed to smile. That's why we won't ask for permission. 3 ships, loyal to our cause. We make contact, demonstrate our power, and offer them a choice. Join us, or face consequences. Their primitive weapons can't harm our vessels. It will be a simple show of force. As Vox laid out his plans, Commander Powell was reviewing Earth monitoring reports in his quarters. Something caught his attention. Unusual activity in the asteroid belt. Movement that didn't match natural patterns. He frowned, making a note to increase surveillance. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't quite identify what it was. On Earth, the signals Olivia and Alan had detected were now being picked up by other observatories around the world. Government agencies had begun to take notice, and quiet messages were being exchanged between world leaders. Protocols established decades ago but never used were suddenly being reviewed. In an underground facility beneath the Pentagon, General Frank Cooper looked at the preliminary reports with a grim expression. "How certain are we about this?" he asked, the room full of analysts and military personnel. "The signals are definitely artificial, sir," replied a young analyst. "And definitely not from Earth." Cooper nodded slowly. "Then we need to dust off the first contact protocols, and pray we never need them." Little did he know, Admiral Vox's 3 ships were already moving into position, preparing to shatter the one rule that had kept peace between Earth and the stars for centuries. The pieces were set, the game was about to begin, and the consequences would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. Dr. Olivia Martinez hadn't slept in 3 days. The signals from space had grown stronger, and now observatories around the world were all picking them up. Her small office at the New Mexico facility was filled with empty coffee cups and printouts, covered in numbers and graphs. "The pattern is getting clearer," she said to herself, pinning another sheet of data to her already crowded wall. The strange signal showed a definite structure that could only come from intelligent beings. Her phone rang. It was Alan. "Olivia, turn on your TV." "Any channel." Alan's voice was tense. She grabbed the remote and turned on the small television in the corner of her office. The regular program had been interrupted. A nervous-looking news anchor was speaking while an image showed in the corner of the screen. 3 large metal objects hovering over Earth. "Reports are coming in from around the world," the anchor said, his voice shaking slightly. 3 unknown craft have appeared in Earth's orbit, visible to telescopes worldwide. Officials are urging people to remain calm as they work to understand the situation. Olivia's hand covered her mouth in shock. "Alan, are you seeing this?" "It's happening, Olivia," Alan replied, his voice a mix of fear and excitement. "First contact." What they didn't know was that Admiral Vox had moved forward with his plan. The 3 ships under his command had deliberately dropped their cloaking shields, making themselves visible to Earth's observers. It was the first step in his plan to force humanity to acknowledge the Confederation, or rather, his faction of it. In Washington, D.C., General Frank Cooper rushed through the Pentagon's corridors. Emergency alarms were blaring, and military personnel ran in all directions. He burst into the Situation Room where the President and her advisors were already gathered. "Madam President," Cooper said as he took his seat, "we've been preparing for this possibility since the 1950s. I never thought we'd actually have to use those plans." President Diane Sawyer, a former military officer herself, nodded grimly. "What are our options, General?" "Limited, but not zero," Cooper replied. "We've been developing technology based on previous encounters. It's experimental, but it's something." Across the globe, military forces went on high alert. Nuclear weapons were armed, fighter jets scrambled, and emergency broadcasts told, citizens to prepare for possible evacuation. At the United Nations, an emergency session had been called. For the first time in history, countries that had been enemies for generations put aside their differences in the face of a potential threat from beyond Earth. Meanwhile, aboard the Celestial Horizon, Commander Powell received the alarming news from his communications officer. "They did what?" he gasped, his skin turning a pale blue color in distress. His tentacles waved frantically. "Show me." The officer brought up images of Earth, where Vox's 3 ships were now clearly visible in orbit. Powell's worst fears had come true. "The fools will doom us all," he muttered. He immediately sent an urgent message to Confederation headquarters, but he knew help would take weeks to arrive. The damage could be done by then. "Prepare my ship," he ordered. "We must try to stop this madness before it's too late." On Earth, Admiral Vox had chosen 3 landing sites for maximum impact, outside New York City, Beijing, and Cairo. The ships descended slowly, deliberately visible, causing panic among the people who saw them come down. Vox himself led the AR delegation outside New York. His gaseous form was contained in a special suit that made him appear solid and imposing to human eyes. He stood nearly 8 feet tall as he emerged from his ship, flanked by armed guards. A hastily assembled group of human representatives waited nervously. Military vehicles formed a perimeter, and soldiers with weapons stood ready. Among the humans were diplomats, scientists, and military officers, including Dr. Alan Wright, who had been flown in as a scientific advisor. Vox stepped forward, his translator device converting his words to English. "People of Earth," his voice boomed across the open field. "Your world has been observed for centuries by the Galactic Confederation. Today marks the end of your isolation. You will now join the Confederation as a protected species under our guidance." The human representatives exchanged worried glances. A diplomat stepped forward. "We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations," she said carefully, "but we are a sovereign planet. We would need to discuss terms of any relationship as equals." Vox made a sound that his translator didn't convert. It might have been laughter. "You misunderstand," he said. "This is not a negotiation. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons cannot harm us. We are here to elevate your species, but you will submit to our authority." General Cooper, standing at the back of the human group, leaned close to Dr. Wright. "What do you make of him?" he whispered. Alan studied the alien carefully before answering. "There's something off about all this," he whispered back. "They're trying too hard to look powerful. It's like they're putting on a show." Cooper nodded slightly. "I thought the same thing. But why?" Vox continued his speech, listing the benefits Earth would receive under Confederation protection, along with the new rules humans would need to follow. He concluded by demanding Earth's leaders sign a treaty of submission within 24 hours. "We will return tomorrow for your answer," Vox announced. "Choose wisely. Acceptance means advancement. Refusal means demonstration of our power." As the aliens returned to their ship, the human delegation hurried to report back. In secure video conferences, leaders from around the world shared what they had learned from the 3 landing sites. The aliens' message had been the same everywhere: submit or face consequences. President Sawyer addressed the nation that evening from the Oval Office. "My fellow Americans, today we face the greatest challenge in human history. I can assure you that we are not approaching this situation unprepared. What the public didn't know, what even most government officials didn't know, was that humanity had been preparing for this day in secret for decades. In underground facilities around the world, technologies reversed engineered from previous, undisclosed alien encounters were being activated. In a facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Olivia Martinez was shown technology that made her previous understanding of physics seem childish. She stared in amazement at what the military scientists were showing her. "We've known they were out there," explained a man who introduced himself only as Director Sam Blackwood. "And we've been getting ready, just in case they weren't friendly." As Earth prepared its response, Admiral Vox congratulated himself on his success. Phase 1 complete, he told his officers. Tomorrow they will submit and we will have accomplished what the Confederation has feared for centuries. What Vox didn't realize was that humans had no intention of submitting to anyone, and they had surprises of their own ready. As the 24-hour deadline approached, Admiral Vox paced inside his ship. His gaseous form swirled with confidence. The 3 Confederation vessels hovered over major cities, a constant reminder of their power. Humans would have no choice but to submit. Any response from their leaders? Vox asked his communications officer. Nothing yet, Admiral. They appear to be still discussing among themselves. Vox made a dismissive gesture. As expected, their divided nature makes quick decisions impossible, but fear will unite them in submission. What Vox didn't know was that beneath the visible panic, humanity was far from divided. For the first time in history, nearly every nation worked together, with a single purpose: defense. In underground facilities across the planet, systems that had been hidden from the public for decades came online. Project Sentinel, a multinational Black Ops program, revealed its true purpose to those who needed to know. Dr. Olivia Martinez stared in amazement at the technology before her in the Rocky Mountain facility. The room was filled with devices that looked both alien and human at the same time. "I don't understand," she said to Director Sam Blackwood. "This technology is decades ahead of anything I've seen. How is this possible?" Blackwood's face was grim. "Roswell wasn't a weather balloon, Doctor. Neither were dozens of other incidents over the past 70 years. We've known about the Confederation for a long time, and we've been preparing." He led her to a large circular device. "This is an electromagnetic pulse generator specifically calibrated to disrupt Confederation technology. We reverse-engineered it from a crashed scout ship in 1962. Olivia's mind raced with the implications. "You're saying we've had alien technology all this time?" "Not just technology," Blackwood replied. "Knowledge. Understanding of what might come one day." He checked his watch. And that day has arrived. In Washington, D.C., President Sawyer met with her military advisors. General Cooper presented the final defense plan. "Project Sentinel is fully operational, Madam President. EMP platforms are in position around all 3 landing sites. We've also activated the Orbital Defense Network." "Orbital Defense Network?" a cabinet member asked in surprise. "Since when do we have weapons in space?" Cooper exchanged a look with the president. "Since 1983. The public knows it as the International Space Station and various satellites. Parts of it, anyway." President Sawyer stood up. "I know this is shocking to some of you, but right now we need to focus on the threat at hand. General, are our forces ready?" "Yes, Madam President. Special units equipped with anti-Confederation weapons are in position. The moment the aliens make an aggressive move, we can respond." As the deadline approached, Admiral Vox prepared to demonstrate his power. His ship moved into position over an uninhabited island in the Pacific Ocean. "They need to understand the consequence of defiance," Vox told his officers. "Once they see what our weapons can do, they will beg to join the Confederation." The weapon began to power up, its energy signature detectable by Earth's monitoring systems. "They're targeting the Pacific Test Site," reported an officer in the Pentagon's command center. "Just as we predicted." General Cooper nodded. "Activate countermeasures." Around the world, hidden EMP platforms powered up. From submarines, mountain bunkers, and disguised satellites, precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses fired at the 3 alien ships. Aboard Vox's vessel, alarms suddenly blared. Systems flickered and failed. The weapon charging sequence aborted. "What's happening?" Vox demanded, his gaseous form darkening with anger. "Unknown energy pulse, Admiral. It's disrupting our systems. Shields are down to 20%. In orbit, Commander Powell's ship arrived just in time to witness the human counterattack. He watched in dismay as Vox's ship struggled to maintain power. "I tried to warn them," Powell muttered to his second-in-command. "Humans are the only species we've encountered who developed countermeasures against technology they hadn't even seen yet." Powell's ship stayed cloaked, observing but not interfering. This was now between Vox and the humans. Enraged by the unexpected resistance, Admiral Vox ordered a full attack. Launch ground forces. Show these primitives the consequences of defiance. Troop carriers descended from all three ships, landing in New York, Beijing, and Cairo. Confederation soldiers, armed with advanced weapons, prepared to easily overwhelm human defenses. What they found instead shocked them. Human soldiers wore exoskeletons that enhanced their strength and speed. Their weapons fired projectiles specifically designed to penetrate Confederation armor. In New York, the alien forces pushed forward from their landing site, expecting to reach the city quickly. Instead, they met fierce resistance from a prepared, human military. The aliens had superior technology, but humans fought with a ferocity and adaptability that surprised the invaders. A Saurian commander reported back to Vox, "Admiral, these humans, they're not fighting like primitives. They know our weaknesses. They have weapons designed specifically against us." Vox couldn't believe what he was hearing. Impossible. They've never encountered our kind before. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Olivia Martinez worked with military engineers to adapt captured alien technology. Within hours, they'd modified more human weapons to better penetrate alien defenses. Their armor has a weak point at the junction points, she explained to a group of officers. Aim there. Around the world, the pattern was the same. Humans took casualties, but they inflicted unexpected damage on the alien forces. The Confederation soldiers, used to the structured, regulated warfare of their own kind, were unprepared for human battle tactics. President Sawyer addressed the world via an emergency broadcast. Throughout our history, humans have fought each other over land, resources, and ideas. Today we stand united against those who threaten our freedom. We will not submit. We will not be conquered. We will remain free. In Beijing, Cairo, and New York, the battles intensified. The aliens had expected an easy victory against primitive humans. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that had been preparing for this exact scenario for decades. Commander Powell watched the battles unfold through monitoring systems. "The humans aren't just defending themselves," he told his crew with a mixture of awe and horror. "They're winning." As night fell across the battlefields, Admiral Vox faced a shocking reality. His simple show of force had turned into a disaster. The humans knew too much about Confederation technology. They fought too effectively against Confederation tactics. "How is this possible?" he demanded of no one in particular, his gaseous form swirling with rage. How could they have been so prepared? What Vox didn't understand was that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or technology. It was their history of conflict, their ability to adapt, and their fierce determination to remain free. As the first day of battle ended, one thing became clear to all who watched. The humans would not be easy to conquer, and they had only just begun to fight back. Admiral Vox retreated to his command ship, his gaseous form dark with rage. The first day of battle had not gone as planned. His forces had taken heavy losses, and the humans showed no signs of surrendering. "If they won't be ruled," Vox declared to his officers, "then they will serve as an example to others who defy the Confederation." He ordered a new strategy. "Deploy the bioweapons. The nerve agent will incapacitate their population centers. Once their leaders see their people helpless, they will surrender." The order went out to all three ships. Special canisters were loaded into launch tubes, each containing a gas designed to affect human nervous systems without killing them. The Confederation had used similar weapons on other resistant species in the past. On Earth, monitoring stations detected the unusual activity aboard the alien vessels. "They're preparing something new," reported an analyst in the Pentagon. "Energy signatures don't match their previous weapons." Dr. Alan Wright, working with a team of scientists, quickly analyzed the data. "It's consistent with biological or chemical deployment systems," he concluded. "They're going to use gas attacks." This news reached General Cooper, who immediately implemented the next phase of Earth's defense plan. "Activate atmospheric countermeasures," he ordered, "around the World weather control systems that had been disguised as research projects sprang into action. These systems, partly based on captured alien technology, could create targeted wind patterns and precipitation. When the Confederation ships launched their bioweapons, something unexpected happened. Sudden storms formed around the canisters, capturing the gas in rain and directing it away from population centers. The rain, treated with neutralizing agents, rendered the weapon harmless before it ever reached the ground. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Olivia Martinez worked with military engineers to adapt more Confederation technology captured in the ground battles. Within hours, they had modified human weapons systems to better penetrate alien defenses. Their shield technology has a fluctuation pattern, she explained to a group of officers. If we time our attacks to match this pattern, we can get through with half the energy. Meanwhile, General Cooper led a daring assault on the landing site outside New York. Human forces, now equipped with improved weapons, pushed forward against the alien perimeter. "Focus fire on the command units," Cooper shouted over the radio as he directed the attack. The human soldiers, wearing exoskeletons that enhanced their strength and speed, moved with coordination that surprised the aliens. By nightfall, human forces had captured a significant portion of the alien ground base, including several pieces of important technology and a handful of prisoners. The captured aliens were shocked by their treatment. They had expected torture, but instead received medical care and proper containment. "We are not monsters," Cooper told a captured Confederation officer who expressed surprise at the humane treatment. "But we will defend our home." The alien officer looked at Cooper with new understanding. "You knew we were coming. You've been preparing for this." Cooper's face remained neutral. "Let's just say humanity has always taken the possibility of hostile visitors seriously." In orbit, Commander Powell monitored the situation with growing concern. Vox's invasion was failing, but the Admiral was growing more desperate. And desperate, enemies were the most dangerous kind. Powell made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. He opened direct communication with Earth's leaders, bypassing Vox's rogue faction. "This is Commander Zachary Powell of the Galactics. Confederation," he transmitted to the secure channels Earth's military had been using. "What you are witnessing is unauthorized aggression. These forces do not represent the Confederation. They have violated our most important directive regarding Earth." In the White House Situation Room, President Sawyer and her advisors listened to Powell's message with suspicion. "How do we know this isn't a trick?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "We don't," President Sawyer replied. "But if there's a chance to end this conflict through diplomacy, we need to try." She authorized a response to Commander Powell, opening a dialogue that could create a diplomatic solution. Powell shared critical information about the rogue fleet's weaknesses while warning that Vox was growing more unstable with each defeat. "His ship's main reactor has a design flaw," Powell explained. "If it takes enough damage in the right section, it will shut down rather than risk a catastrophic failure." This information was immediately shared with military commands worldwide, giving human forces a specific target for their attacks. Vox, learning of Powell's communication with Earth, flew into a rage. "Traitor!" he screamed, his form pulsing with violent energy. He ordered his ship to target Powell's vessel. In the ensuing space battle, Powell's ship took heavy damage. Systems failed across multiple decks, and emergency protocols engaged. "Can't maintain orbit," his pilot reported. "We need to land or we'll break apart." Powell looked at the blue planet below them. "Set course for the least populated area you can find. Emergency landing protocols." As Powell's ship began its descent toward a remote area in the American Midwest, Vox saw an opportunity for a decisive strike. With Powell out of the way, he could focus all his firepower on breaking human resistance. "Prepare the main weapon," he ordered. "Target their leadership center in North America. Without their command structure, their resistance will crumble." The massive weapon began to power up, drawing energy from the ship's systems. It would be capable of destroying a large portion of Washington, D.C., including the White House and Pentagon. What Vox didn't know was that humans had one more surprise waiting. The satellites that had been in orbit for decades were actually disguised weapon platforms. Originally placed to defend against asteroid threats, they had been designed with another purpose in mind. In the Pentagon Command Center, General Cooper received word that Vox's ship was powering up its main weapon. They're targeting DC. An officer reported. Impact in 3 minutes. Cooper didn't hesitate. Activate solar shield. Authorization code, Bright Star. Around the world, military commanders entered similar codes. The orbital platforms, disguised for decades as weather, and communication satellites revealed their true nature. Concentrated energy beams struck Vox's flagship from multiple angles. Its shields, already weakened from previous battles, failed under the assault. The main weapon's charging sequence was disrupted, causing power surges throughout the ship. "What's happening?" Vox demanded as his vessel shuddered around him. Alarms blared from every console. "Multiple impacts. Shields are down. Main reactor is going into emergency shutdown." The mighty ship, pride of Vox's rogue fleet, began to drift helplessly in orbit, its systems shutting down one by one to prevent a catastrophic meltdown. With their leader's ship disabled and human forces pressing the advantage on the ground, the remaining Confederation forces began to lose cohesion. Some units surrendered, while others retreated to their ships. As Powell's damaged vessel made an emergency landing in a Kansas field, he realized the truth that the Confederation had feared for centuries. Humans were not just violent. They were prepared, adaptable, and unified in the face of external threats. The galaxy would never be the same again. Commander Powell stood before the United Nations General Assembly 2 weeks after his emergency landing on Earth. His wounds had been treated by human doctors who had shown remarkable skill in adapting their medical knowledge to his alien biology. The massive hall was filled to capacity, with representatives from every nation on Earth. Billions watched the broadcast worldwide. Powell's 4 eyes blinked slowly as he surveyed the room. His translator device converted his words to multiple human languages simultaneously. "For centuries we have watched your species," Powell began. "We observed your wars, your divisions, but also your remarkable ability to unite against common threats. The directive to avoid contact with humans was not just to protect us from you. It was also to protect you from becoming entangled in galactic politics before you were ready." President Sawyer stood at the podium beside him. "It seems we were more ready than anyone anticipated. The invasion had been defeated. Admiral Vox and his surviving forces had surrendered and were now held in specially designed containment facilities. His ships had been disabled and were being studied by human scientists. The arriving Confederation peacekeeping fleet had been greeted by a unified Earth Defense Force, ready to negotiate but unwilling to surrender any autonomy. "The Confederation Council is meeting now to address the Earth situation," Powell explained. "They face an uncomfortable truth. Humans cannot be simply contained or ignored any longer." Dr. Olivia Martinez and Dr. Alan Wright sat in the audience. Over the past 2 weeks, they had led international teams studying the captured alien technology. Human science was advancing at an unprecedented rate, leaping forward decades in mere months. "What happens now?" President Sawyer asked the question on everyone's mind. Powell's tentacles moved in a gesture of openness. "That is for both our peoples to decide. The old directive has been broken. We cannot return to the way things were." In the days that followed, a new understanding began to take shape. President Sawyer proposed that Earth join the Confederation not as a subject world, but as a full member with special status. Humans would maintain complete autonomy over their solar system, while gradually integrating into galactic society. "We don't seek conquest," she told the Confederation representatives during the negotiations, "but we will never accept subjugation. We offer partnership instead." The proposal caused debate throughout galactic society. Never before had a species moved from isolation to full membership so rapidly. Some Confederation Council members protested, citing human unpredictability and potential for violence. Powell, now serving as liaison between Earth and the Confederation, offered the deciding perspective during the Council's emergency session. The directive to avoid humans was based on fear. He told the assembled representatives of thousands of worlds, "We now have a choice. continue fearing them, or embrace their potential as allies. In the weeks that followed, Earth experienced unprecedented unity. Ancient enemies set aside their differences to focus on the new relationship with the wider galaxy. Military forces that had fought together against the invasion now worked together to adapt alien technology for peaceful purposes. Dr. Martinez led a team that used Confederation medical technology to develop cures for diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. Dr. Wright worked with engineers to design the first human ships capable of faster-than-light travel. General Cooper, working with Commander Powell, established protocols for human integration into the Confederation's defense forces. Humans, with their unique perspective on warfare, offered new strategies that even the oldest Confederation species found valuable. Admiral Vox, awaiting judgment from both human authorities and the Confederation, reflected on his catastrophic error. A human psychologist assigned to interview him reported his conclusion. "I thought we were waking a sleeping primitive," Vox admitted. "Instead, we roused a sleeping giant." The psychologist included this quote in her report to the United Nations, where it became something of a motto for Earth's new relationship with the galaxy. As human diplomatic missions prepared to visit other worlds, Earth's cities buzzed with visitors from across the stars. Alien technology helped solve problems of pollution, energy, and food production. Human creativity and art fascinated species that had forgotten how to innovate. 6 months after the invasion, the first official human starship prepared for its maiden voyage. Built with a combination of Confederation technology and human ingenuity, it was faster and more maneuverable than standard designs. Its name, Unity, reflected the new era of human history. Commander Powell stood beside President Sawyer at the launch ceremony. Around them, humans and aliens from dozens of worlds mingled peacefully. If someone had told me a year ago that I would be standing on Earth watching humans join the galactic community as equals, I would have called them insane, Powell said. President Sawyer smiled. And if someone had told me we would defeat an alien invasion and then make friends with the invaders, I would have said the same. Powell's color shifted to a warm green, indicating amusement. The Confederation feared your potential for violence. We never fully appreciated your equal potential for peace and cooperation. As the ship lifted off, cheers erupted from the crowd. Unity rose through the atmosphere, carrying the first human ambassadors to the Confederation capital. Their mission was not just diplomacy but education, to teach the galaxy about humanity, both its strengths and its flaws. Aboard the departing vessel, a young human diplomat looked back at the blue planet growing smaller behind them. "I wonder if they'll ever truly understand us," she said to her alien companion. The Saurian diplomat, Lieutenant Kress from Powell's original briefing, had volunteered to guide the humans through their introduction to galactic society. "Perhaps not fully," he replied, "but they will respect you. That much is certain." Throughout the galaxy, a new directive spread quietly among all spacefaring races. Treat humans with respect. They earned it the hard way. As Powell watched the ship disappear into the distance, he reflected on how quickly everything had changed. The one rule that had stood for centuries, never disturb the humans, had been broken, and the consequences had reshaped the galaxy forever. What no one yet realized was that this was just the beginning. Humanity's journey among the stars had just begun, and the universe would never be the same again.